Hello and welcome back to Project Berlingo. Just thought I would do a bit of a walk around of what I've done over the last few days and what I'm going to be doing this week. So what I've done is I've given it a quick wash. Actually, it's the first time I've washed it since I've had it. And I think it's cleaned up really nice. I mean, white's white. Don't know how it shows up on the camera. I'm going to try and do something about that dint. But I think it's cleaned up lovely. This is the new wheel trims are on. I can't remember what I've actually showed on my previous video, so I apologise if I'm going over the same thing again. I've got a few things coming this week to do. I've only got a 2-day week, so I haven't got long to do it. One of which, while we're on at the back here, this thing, I painted that up just briefly, but I've got the proper van lock to go on it. Weighs a ton, this thing. Weighs nearly more than the flipping door, and obviously that just goes in there. Looks a bit nicer as well. And what else I'm going to be doing while I'm in here, as you already know, air filter. The whole air filter unit's coming off. Fuel filter. And while all that's off, I'm going to blank off the EGR valve as well. So I may as well leave them out. Cleaned up with the back a bit. What did I do? So as you've seen, the wheel trims are fitted. And a wash. I did a few things on Friday night because I stopped back late. Oh, that's what it was. I fixed the screen in here, as I mentioned in my previous videos. So now, when I switch this on, I've got the date and time, and I can see what's on the radio as well. Turn that off for copyright, but there we go. So I fixed the centre screen, reset the service light, as you've seen, and just give it a little bit more of a clean up inside. So, I'm going to get on now. I'm actually going to reverse it in the garage and start, obviously the videos will be staggered, and start taking off the air filter and air filter housing and pipe work that's all connected to it, and the fuel filter off. And when all that's off and out the way, you can get to the EGR valve, and I'm hoping the plate has been posted. But we've had one hell of a storm, as you've seen on my previous videos. Have a look on my last video. It's caused so much damage. The poor lads across there, all of their fencing, which they had just put up a couple of weeks ago, is blown down. And the bungalow, you can just see above the roof line there, the whole roof's blown off that. And unfortunately, the poor guy's in a very bad way. He's an old gentleman. So it's all not good times here, having to say to their family. But luckily for us, again, we're getting away lightly. A few little bits have come off, but not too bad. So anyways, I'll put this into all the same video, and I'll come back to you when I've got it stripped down. Right, hello, welcome back to Project Berlingo. I just did an intro before of how far we're getting up to. So I'm going to attempt to use this tripod here, but I've got no idea how it's going to go. I'm going to use the fuel filter box as a stand, and I'm really anxious because I've got a brand new phone here. Hope the quality's coming through is better. The new iPhone 13 mini. So what we're going to do is, like I mentioned, change fuel filter, change oil filter. I forgot to mention just 2 minutes ago on the previous video, I've got new locking barrels coming. I'll do a separate video on those. I'm going to put 2 new locking barrels on this door, the other front door, and the back door, and I'm just going to leave this one be. So what we're going to do on this video is strip everything back, and we're going to blank the EGR valve as well. So to start with, I'll just put you on the stand. I'll record so much of this until too much noise starts happening or people start coming in disturbing us. So first up, you just take the engine cover off. In the case of this, half the time the little things are snapped, which in fairness this one isn't, but the little rubber bones aren't ideal. So just remove that, put it out the way, which we're going to do. Second up, you need a screwdriver, as I've got, and you want to be taking off the pipe on the turbo here, slacking off this one, and then you take all this network of pipes off. In fact, what I'll probably do is take these off. All that are, you just do a half a turn and they slip out. Same with this one, half a turn to come out. You don't pull on at them, because that's just cheap rubbish, and the trust is the will break. If you've got the force, you're doing it wrong. So that's that pipe off. The little vacuum pipe on the back corner of this, which are 9 times out of 10 snapped off. So this just comes off in quite a similar way. They're all rattly, and to be quite honest, even when they were new, they felt broken. So again, that's this pipe off, that's out the way, which exposes your fuel filter. Get them to stand up properly, which is here. But what we need is the airbox, full complete airbox off. If you're just doing the air filter, what you need to do is just take this pipe off from the turbo. There's 3 Allen keys you take off, which takes the air filter off, but I'm just going to lift this whole lot off in one. So we're going to disconnect it from the air filter, got to be careful with this oil breather here. You've got to disconnect the MAF sensor, like so. And the whole lot, when I get these pipes pulled off, should, in theory, lift off if my memory serves us right. And what I'll do is I'll just take this apart on the bench. These are a nightmare to do on a Citroen Picasso because the scuttle panel comes from about here. So you're quite lucky on the Berlingo, you've got like the whole thing to yourself. I can't remember, it's been a while since I've took these apart, how much needs to come off. There's this little bleed off the little fuel primer here. I'm sure that has to come out the way, and there's all sorts broken down the back of here, to be quite honest. So I'm just going to gently take this off where the turbo is, top tip, but do not forget to reverse this. There's got a bit of paper that I want to get. 2 moments. And for God's sake, remember when you're finished not to leave this in the turbo. Put this just in the turbo housing there, stop any dirt from enter anything. Now, it's disconnected from the breather. This whole section, in theory, if I've not left something connected to it, or pipe work, there we go. That little pipe here should just come out in one go. And if you ever have one of these which are rattling and making noise, it's just, this stuff is just shit. It's just absolute garbage. Even from new, they were horrendous. A bit of paper's fallen out, so I'm just going to get that. Make sure there's absolutely no dirt on it. In fact, while we're here, we'll have a little look inside the turbo and inspect it for play, which there isn't a great deal of. And it looks in fair condition as well. Don't know if you can see the turbines in there. Very little oil, no oil, and I can tell you this thing pulls really nice for what it is. So now what we've exposed is the fuel filter, which is just simply 2 pipes here, this plug and here, and you've got to transfer a stupid unit over. But what I'm wanting to see is what's down here. This is your EGR valve. And down here, what there is there's an area on the head, which when I get this fuel filter out the way, it exposes, and all you do is I'll show you just slacken them off, pull it back slightly, slip the plate in, tighten it up, and it deactivates the valve. So to get this out the way, it's just basically take this wire off, this fuel pipe, that fuel pipe, it lifts out. But one thing I will tell you, I have a vacuum system which you've seen here. These things are terrible, and when you're changing the fuel filters on these, if you're not prepared like I am in a garage with tools at hand, don't expect just to fit one of these and start the car straight up. It won't happen, simple as that. You will have serious issues. So I'm going to recover this turbo back up now. I'm just going to pause it, and obviously while this is off, it's a lot easier to change the air filter, which is just 1, 2, 3 Allen keys, and the new filter goes in. To be honest, it looks quite clean to start with, but I've got them, they're getting changed. And I've already discussed about the fuel filter. I want a Bosch one, because if you look closely, I don't know how well you can see, but the injectors, more than likely, don't quote us on that, will be Bosch. Can't really see nothing. Let's have a look. Yes, it is there. There's a Bosch symbol, but you probably won't be able to see it. It's just on the inside there of that clip. That's the Bosch symbol, so you know that Bosch units, along with probably everything else on here there. That vacuum pump, my finger takes it out of focus, Bosch. So you know, that's just where I'm coming from. I'm not pulling other companies to bits, but I like to use you know, and when I mention TRW to people quite often on suspension components, believe it or not, right there, TRW make all these fuel pipes and stuff. You know, I just like to back up what I say, cause just in case anybody decides to question anything. There you go, down the back there on the brake servo, Bosch on that white sticker. So I just thought I would show that. So I'm going to do is now disconnect this. Diesel will drop, so be prepared. So with this, all you do is you squeeze the 2 in with your fingers. Use the easier with 2 hands. There we go. Take that one off, and there's one just here. You just push it in with your fingernail. I'll put yours back onto the stand because I don't want diesel going all over my new phone. And I certainly don't want it to fall off this. So that's that one off. Secondary one. If you're not sure what you're doing, label them and take photographs. I strongly recommend that. I do that on a daily basis, in fairness. This one is a little bit more difficult because you've got to get your hand down the back as well as pulling the pipe. They will come. It just depends who's been at them. See, there's the issue with this one, you see. The actual fuel unit has come out of it. because whoever's fitted it has obviously snapped the clip, which they have done here. So that'll probably explain some of the funny running this thing has when you start it up. So if you bear with this, I'm just going to pause this and try and correct somebody's balls up, basically. Right, now I'll show you what has happened. So these are dead easy once you've got the two fuel pipes off in the connector. Push this little tab in and it lifts out. Usually a little pipe, the little plug at the bottom, which I'm just going to try and get off with my fingers. And I'll show you what the problem's been without trying to spill too much diesel everywhere. Right. So, I can't show you because the phone is resting on it. It's this unit here. Now there's meant to be a clip here that sits perfectly in line, and because these, which I get at, cheap units, that's been leaking diesel out and causing air in the system, and they don't get a proper hold. So that's why the whole unit slid out, where the Bosch ones have a much better unit here, which holds on. By the looks of it, they've probably snapped it and caused damage as well. So just another reason I'm not a great fan of using aftermarket, especially custom made filters like this. So I'll just put this out the way, and now I'm having to cast. I'm only going to a spotlight so I can see what I'm doing. Just going to have a look in here and cast my memory back to when I did one of these, which was quite a while ago. Yeah, so I don't know what someone's done here, but they've got the gasket for some reason sticking a mile out. The EGR valve looks new. Let's have a look what's written on the top. Volt, yeah, cheap shit. So it'll be causing the problem. So what we're going to do is there's just two bolts on it, slacking them off, only slacking them off. And I might even take this this fuel filter housing off to get easier access. But this is more than likely what's causing my problem. But I'll just try and get the camera down there. I can't remember after. It's definitely not OE. Somebody's got that's the gasket. This is sticking out. Why they've done that, I do not know. But as you can see, some cheapy shit aftermarket one. It's new, but this is why I say don't use it, because half the time they just cause you more problems than anything else. So I'm just gonna cut out here. I'll show you. Obviously, I've showed you this is kind of standard what you would do an oil filter, fuel filter, which I've got there. And I'll show you what you do about switching that unit over. But I've got a feeling it's been slightly damaged, but it should, in theory, work. So what I'm going to do now is just see if I can either get some of this off or have a look about slackening that off and see what's going on with that gasket, why it's sticking out like that for, because that's really not normal. You can see it hasn't been leaking because there's no black diesel soot, but it's certainly not been doing any good. So I'm just going to cut it here and I'll come back. Hopefully my dad's away doing an MOT. When he gets back, he's going to check to see if the post's come, and I'll show you what this EGR valve plate is and what it looks like. So I'll get back to you soon. Bye. Right, so welcome back. I've slackened the two 8mm bolts down the back of this unit, and as you can see, there's the gasket there, and this light just seems to be shining. The gasket there is absolutely, I can't see why somebody's put that in like that. So what they've obviously done is they've fitted it, forgot to put the gasket in, and then just shoved it in. You can see where the gases have been going past it, but obviously they haven't gone through the holes where they're designed to go through. Which is the point. This is basically what we're going to do with this EGR blanking plate. Is it's got elongated holes. Obviously, the holes have been cut out, so it's designed just to slip in. So basically, I've slackened it now, so as you can see, it moves. So all I do is just slip in the plate in, and it goes over the top of the two bolts that go through. But obviously, the holes are cut, so it just slides in. I'm debating whether this hasn't been leaking anyways. But I'm debating whether to just pull the bolts out and put it in place. But to be quite honest, the gasket, the The plate I'm putting in anyways is going to act like a gasket anyway, so I might just leave this out and just see what happens. It's not a very big job to take it out. So yeah, there you go. Just shows you when people haven't got a clue what they're doing, that's the kind of work. Fitted a cheap crap EGR valve, which is probably the root of the problem anyway, because they're shit even out the box. And then why you would do that, I do not know, but whatever. So there we go. This is how far we're up to. What else have I done? That was something I've just noticed before, which I've then forgot. There's too much going on here. But yeah, what I'm going to do is now is swap the unit over on these. I may show you, in fact I'll show you now. I don't really want it on here because it's a bit dirty. But anyways, it slides out and diesel's not been leaking everywhere. So what happens is this unit here, it's hard to try to do it with one hand, that basically like slides out. I'll see if I can just line this up, just so you get the gist of what I'm on about. Focus that down, right there. So I'm still having to work, squish behind the heater. With this unit here, when it's in, that's the problem, it's loose, you see, and then when you come to slide it out, it's like that. This unit here has to be transferred, so you've got to change the seals into the new filter, and you can just see with this filter, even though it's brand new, that it's just not very good, the clip work on it, very cheap, and it causes big problems fitting that. So I'll get that swapped over. Now my hands are full of diesel. Just realised I can't stop the phone. But there you go. I just thought I would show you that one. The air filter. I don't think you need to show us that. For us to show you that, you just need an Allen key. 1, 2, 3. Take it out. But what we are going to do, I'm just on this MAF sensor. I'm going to take this off. I'm just going to put a bit of electrical contact cleaner on that just to clean any oil off it. So I'm just going to pause it out there now. Just a quick update, that's the air filter out. In fairness, as I suspected, because I've seen the corners, it looked pretty new, but it is dirty. Again, combine. I'm not going to pull air filters to bits, mind. I must admit, this is a premium quality man filter, what would be the same as what you would get from Citroen. And in fairness, I must admit, when you look, a filter is pretty much a filter, in some cases. But the only thing with these, though, if you fit them to a Picasso, like I mentioned, it's a right faff of a job. Just fit the man filter, just in case. But as you can see, really that's not too dirty. It looks black, but really it isn't. But hey ho, I'm in here, it's getting changed. I've just got my dirty gloves on, so I'm going to stick that back together, clean the MAF. I'm just going to pause it out now and show you what I do when I clean that. So that's the air filter in. I've took this pipe off, and in fairness, this MAF sensor looks actually really clean. But all we're going to use is a little bit of electrical contact cleaner and a small amount of it's high pressure air, but you don't go mad. So you just spray it in. Just a small amount. And then you get the air, but you don't go mad with it. You just give it a spray. You don't want to blow too hard. And that just cleans it up, and that's it. You don't brush it, you don't touch it with nothing, because you will break it. They're very delicate. So that's that cleaned. I might just give it another quick burst just to dissolve any grease and oil off it. Air filter done. Like I've said, fuel filter, we're going to switch the unit over with the new seals onto the Bosch one, but as I've mentioned, I'll have to put the old one back in the box if it's not leaking. That's me kind of tripod stand. And I forgot to mention before, just in case you wonder how I've got a better view, I removed that casing out the way because it was totally blocking the view, so I've had to connect a few pipes and whatnot. So hopefully my dad comes back with the plate and I'll show you fitting that. If not, it'll have to be on another video on another day, but I was hoping to get this built up tonight, so I'll catch you in another video. But no, I won't catch you in another video. I'll simply just pause it and then bring it back when I'm doing the fuel filter. Right, there we go, that's a fuel filter sorted. This was my point before. This went in so good, I'm not even gonna, I wanted the video doing it, but it just popped into place better than I've ever had one do that before, because I normally write a faff. But this is my point again, just with the general design. If you look at this here to this, well, typically right where my finger is, I look at the bottom corner, like this area here. If you notice this one, this has got some kind of like cheapy, like V-shaped bit of plastic, which obviously isn't doing the job right. where this is just popped in lovely. I was going to mention the two little O-rings that you get with it. Either get some used diesel, clearly it'll be everywhere, or use a little bit of rubber grease or silicone grease, and it just pops in and it just slides in like a cartridge. So you remember to remove those. But that's that, complete, ready to go on. But the EGR, so there you go, there's a prime example why to use genuine equipment stuff, Bosch. Just even the time you've got to spend building them up, it saves you time, it's just better all round. So the EGR delete kit, just a plate really, has come, and the guy's even had the decency, if anybody wants to know, link, this guy does blanking plates for just about every diesel engine, a couple of petrol engines, but if you do have a petrol engine, I personally wouldn't bother. They don't cause anywhere near the issue as what you get with diesels. He does aluminium ones. I mean, funny enough, I've got a Coke can here. I've seen a few DIY repairs done. This is the original gasket. As you can see, it's just razor thin, like stainless steel. And what I've seen a lot of people do is actually use an old Coke can or a beer can and cut out the template, but when they get too hot they can burn through, fragments can get sucked into the engine. Not worth it. This guy does, I think it's 1.5mm aluminium, or this is stainless steel. I always prefer the stainless steel ones, just purely through choice, because nothing's going to happen to 1.5mm aluminium. Aluminium does crush better to get a seal, but I find the stainless steel just feels that bit stronger and better, you know. It's not going to deform or nothing like that. But he's had the decency in this case, because it's a bit of a weird shape and angle. He's pointed up, engine side, and EGR side. So even an idiot hopefully wouldn't be able to get this wrong. So naturally, engine side is here, your block. That's your EGR. So it just slides in there. I'll set up better in a minute. You got to pull the EGR back and it slides in. Now, I was going to refit this, which hadn't been fitted properly in the first place for some random reason. But I'm not going to bother, because it's getting blanked off. As you can see, there's the hole, what you're blanking off, so it's going to be blanked. But it's pointless putting it in, because this is going to be like a gasket, and to be quite fair, it's been running perfectly fine with the gasket hanging out, and there's been like no gases coming out of there. So just to show you, that's kind of the template. I'll get it in a rough angle of what it would be, just so you can get the idea. There, you see, absolutely made perfectly to precision. Can't hardly say that word, but as you can see, that cut out, so you don't have to go removing this, because it's a nightmare at the back here, because you've got to take the EGR cooler off. So you just have to slacken the 2.8mm off enough so it moves like that, and then you just slide it in, and as you slide it in, obviously these go across the two bolts. Then tighten it up, job done. Just don't over tighten it to strip them into the head. So I'm going to try and set up here and show you what's happening with it, and to show you as I slide it in. Right, so there I've got it in place. It's a bit difficult trying to do it one-handed, so make sure you get it the right way, and then it's just a case of sliding it in and pulling the EGR valve back away from yourself. You don't need to force it, and there you go. It will stick up a little bit at the top. That's how it's designed to be. As you can see, that's the plate in there. Then you just tighten the two at the back, job done. So anybody mentioning for MOT and this, that and the other, if you can't see nothing, you can't feel it, and it does not affect the emissions, the smoke or nothing. If anything, it helps. So bearing in mind, this is going to be in the way on there, and you've got the fuel filter sitting on top of it and the air filter. So on these DV6 engines, they are completely invisible. So there you go. What I have done with that, in case you're wondering what it is, you put a bit of copper grease on it. And it just helps create a little bit more of a seal. And they've probably done me a favour, actually, because if this gasket was in, it would probably get snarled up and stop it from sliding in as well. So maybe that's a better thing, but I certainly wouldn't recommend dismantling it to take it out. I'll probably just leave it in and try and slide it in. The only thing I am going to do off camera is just get a small fine bladed screwdriver and just go around it and just make sure it's pushed all the way in as far as it'll go, and then tighten it up. You don't need to watch me struggling behind an engine doing that. You get the gist what I'm on about. So anybody who's interested in these plates, I've fitted them to all sorts. So obviously they do them for the Mark III Mondeo diesels, which are Transit van engines, 1700 diesel Astras, everything. I can go on and on. Like this engine alone's in God knows how many vehicles, from Minis to Mazdas to everything. Some have a hole in, others don't. Some might set off an engine management light, some might even put them in limp mode, but every vehicle's different. But you tend to find anything with just a cat on, not DPF, you tend to find you'll get away with it. It'll not be too bad. Even if you do get an engine management light coming on, it won't mean the car goes into limp mode. And to be honest, I'd sooner have a light on the dashboard than having problems with the EGR. And like I've already mentioned, if you own a diesel up to an 08 plate, it's not even part of the MOT. So even if your engine management light does come on because of it, as long as it's before 2008, up to now, unless they change the rules, it's not even part of the MOT. So don't be put off by that. But according to the lad who does these, he said very few of these earlier DV6s bring a code up, but we shall see when it's built up. So I'll get back to you. As I mentioned, I've got this plate to put back on here, fuel filter in, and I'll come back to you and I'll show you a neat way to prime the fuel filters on these. Not using these bleed bulbs, because you can cause a big problem with them. I might as well move the camera and show you with these. They never work, but unfortunately if you're doing this on your driveway, that's all you've got to use. I personally wouldn't attempt doing the fuel filter on one of these unless you're in a garage, because you will have problems when you come to start them. So I'll come back to you shortly when I've got it built up. Right, so that's the fuel filter housing back on, as you can see. Just try to remember as you go along, don't forget any of the plugs. So the EGR is plugged in. I've put a bit of grease on this vacuum point. Just put that back on. Otherwise you'll end up with no brakes. So now all we need to do is drop the fuel filter in, bleed it up, get the air filter housing back in. Remember, it's never going to be perfect, the air filter housing, because they rattle all over the place. It just use a bit of kind of productive work while you've got things stripped down, like that clutch pipe down the back of the engine there. Just a little bit of grease on there, or anything really, just while you can get to things, not easy to get to, just add a bit of protection, you know. Just have a look around before you start building things up. Things that could require a little bit of maintenance while it's stripped down, make the most of it, you know. So, as you've already seen with removing the old one, it's really, really simple. You just drop them in. I don't know why on these there's a plug, as you can see, which goes to nothing. It's meant for like the versions with like a water detector or a heater, a diesel heater in them. So you obviously got to plug it in just into the blank, and then you plug your main one into here, then the pipes. I'll get it briefly built up and I'll come back to you. There we go, that's it in place. Pipe collected at the back. I couldn't really film doing it. What I use is a piece of rubber on this vacuum pump. You pop it onto the back of that so it slides over with an airtight seal whilst connected to the vacuum. Just pump it a few times, you'll hear the air hissing, and once diesel starts to run through the pipe without any air bubbles, that's sucked all the fuel from the tank. You always find the return, as you can see there's a little arrow there pointing out, so you want your feed pipe connected, so you're basically drawing it out like this is the return back to the tank. So you're drawing the diesel from the tank through it, which then saturates the filter inside, so you don't have the issue with the non-starting. Bit of silicone grease on these because it can be a right pain when you come to take them off when they get seized. Click it in, job done. And there'll be no harm in giving this just a few primes, just to make up for any kind of lost pressure while you've had the pipe off. But as you can see, they're absolutely rubbish. So definitely worth using a little vacuum system like this to prime it through. So that's a fuel filter done. All we need to do now is drop the air system in, and that's it done. And there we go, all done. Everything back together. Like I've mentioned with these, they're just a network of pipes that were crap from new. And yes, there's cable ties galore, but by doing this, you actually stop it from rattling. I mean, now that is solid. You will not get a DV6 with a more solid pipe network than that unless you go, in fact, even if you went brand new, it wouldn't. So that stops all that from rattling. Basically, the bracket had snapped on this one. So what you do is you just put a bit of gaffer tape on the entrance into the intake box, and that keeps that tight. This bracket down here on this little ball joint always snaps and degrades. So you just get a cable tie, join these two pipes together, just gently. But then what you might find is it pulls it out the oil breather. So then you want just another two cable ties looped around here, which keeps that one into the oil cooler, into the oil. It's just like the crankcase ventilation. So that's that, all done. EGR blanked off, new air filter, new fuel filter. I've done the oil filter in a separate video. New power steering fluid, I did that the other day. New antifreeze ready for the winter. New battery. I put some high strength screen wash in. New brake fluid, because I did the brake pipes at the back, so we're pretty much getting there. Next up, which I'll do on a separate video, are the door locking barrels, which should have been here the day, which aren't. And I've got a few little tricks and tips to getting these out. I remember doing them a few years ago. But remember, we're leaving that one. We're doing the passenger's front door, driver's front door, and the back door. But that'll come in a different video. I just mainly, over the moon, I've got this thing up and running tonight. Quickly at the end of the video, just in case if you haven't watched my other videos about blank and EGR valves, few benefits. Number one, everybody's been behind a diesel and you see all the shit and soot that comes out the exhaust, okay? That soot, what an EGR valve does, exhaust gas recirculation valve, what it is, EGR, it takes exhaust gases and recirculates it back around into the intake of your engine. So all that black soot and everything you want out the back of the exhaust, out the engine, is getting recirculated back. If you're doing a lot of journeys around the doors, all that black soot and crap is going back round and round and round, and it blocks all your intake manifold up, clogs everything up, just causes so many problems. It's designed to reduce NOx, nitrous oxide, we know that, but we can't save the planet when you're trying to run on a budget. It's as simple as that. So it's got nothing to do with the MOT. As you can see, it is completely invisible. So nothing to do with the MOT. It won't affect your emissions. And when you have got a dodgy EGR valve, it makes them kick out more smoke. So by doing this, you're actually more likely to pass the MOT than ever fail the MOT. So again, what it does, you'll find you've got a lot more pickup from low speeds. They'll pick up better, more torque. You'll find you'll get better miles per gallon. You'll get longer oil change intervals, because when it's not pumping all the black crap back into the engine and into the oil, it doesn't pollute the oil as much. These are just the upsides of things, you know, I can't guarantee it, but I've certainly noticed a difference. And the main thing is it doesn't clog all your intake up. So if you really want to go over the top, take all your inlet manifold off, clean it all out, then blank it, then everything will stay new. It won't clog up again. It's not worth it on this. But I forgot to mention, they are the plus points of an EGR. The only downside of it, which I've not personally encountered, is in the winter it may take slightly longer to warm up than normal. But what I have found on this van, which I didn't expect, down here, if you see them little I'll just point the torch here. It's actually got a water heater built in, electric water heater. It's basically just like 4 glow plugs that sit into the water jacket, which go straight to your heater matrix and then round back into the engine. So you tend to find with these, actually in the winter when it's cold, when you start them, it heats up itself anyway, so it'll not really make too much difference. So there we go. That's the end of that video. I'll start another one like I've mentioned when I do the door locks, and that's pretty much it. So like I've said, if you are watching these and you're not subscribed, consider hitting the button. It doesn't cost you a penny if you've already got an account with YouTube. It's just a 1 second, hit the button, subscribe, and it all helps towards me getting, as I mentioned, I don't get nothing for this anyway, so but it all helps me figures. So if you've got anything you want to ask, if you want a link for the EGR blanking plates, anything, leave a comment and I'll send you a link. So thanks for watching, bye.